When people think about blogging and bloggers, the stereotype is of the lone person, sitting there at a laptop, pounding out thoughts, subjective kinds of thoughts, sometimes even in his or her pajamas or underwear. It's an image I try to avoid. I don't like to think about Roger in his underwear, to tell you the truth. But there's a kernel of truth to that image. Most blogs really do kind of fit that stereotype. And we have with us today one of the best and most prominent of what I would think of as the pure bloggers. The people who sit down by themselves and type out their thoughts on whatever the topic of the day may be. Blogging is personal expression. So, Ann Althouse, why don't you pick it up and comment on that?
Well, thanks for that introduction. And I was a little wary about going first because we're supposedly talking about political blogging, and I feel like I'm the least political person here. But John set it up nicely so that it actually makes sense to me, and I hope I can fulfill that. Well, I started blogging in January of '04, and it was really purely for self-expression. Yeah, I didn't really have any particular subjects I wanted to do, but it was really just a process of self-discovery, wanting to write, wanting to reach people, and just wanting to see what flowed out. And there was something about the format, the mechanism of having to put at least one thing up a day that sort of draws you along and draws you out and makes it possible to express yourself in a way that, might have been completely pent up before. For me, writing about things like politics, that was really quite pent up. I had not been politically active. I've never been politically active. I've never gone around expressing a lot of political opinions. Living in Madison, Wisconsin, I sort of was not even aware of what a lot of my ideas were. Because one tries to get along with people, but the process of blogging itself, of becoming comfortable with expressing an opinion, of always needing material, really had a great personal effect on me that I've just enjoyed and found it tremendously rewarding. I was always reading the newspaper in the morning. I get the New York Times delivered, and I often read articles and wondered why other people had so many political opinions and didn't really think that I had so many. But by transforming into a blogger and taking that process of reading the newspaper into a process of, noticing what jumps out at me, what particularly grabs me, rather than just reading everything. What are the things that really, speak to me? And then sort of forcing myself to say a little something, to have an opinion, and to really just discover my own opinion was just a really cool thing for me. And I didn't know where that was going to take me, but the process of going there was something that was just generated a lot of intrinsic rewards and a lot of momentum. And of course, the structure of the blog is all about momentum. You always have to keep putting something up. John just said everyone can blog, and it makes it possible for everyone to do it. But there's a demand that you constantly put something up, that you update, that you put at least one thing up a day. And a lot of people start a blog, but then they really can't update it. They really don't want to do that, or they feel imprisoned by this obligation. So I think that to discover that you're actually a blogger is to find out that you really find it very stimulating and momentum creating to be in the position where the next thing and the next thing and the next thing are always going to go up there. And that's the way I found it. It just really released a whole, flow of expression for me that I didn't really think I had. As I said, I was somebody who didn't express political opinions. And even now, I often don't have things to say about political issues. Sometimes people will criticize me. Oh, why isn't Ann Althouse talking about X yet? This is important. And if it's important, why aren't you talking about it? As if I should be talking about things in proportion to how important they are, as opposed to for my own idiosyncratic, eccentric reasons why I have some sentence I feel like putting out there about one thing or another. So I really found it important to, always be in touch with the intrinsic rewards that there are for me, for the expressive process of writing, and for being a distinctive person who has something to say to my readers, and then being a place where people want to go, to see what I happen to be talking about at a particular time, and to join in the comments and talk to me and interact with me. It's sort of a place where people can go and talk and interact, and there's a certain element of surprise. It's not, the latest talking points or what we're supposed to think about X or the most important issues of the day. It's sort of something that's very individualistic that could be anything. And so, I've just always gone along and kept in touch with just what I felt like talking about. And, people criticize me, I get attacked, there are all these people who hate me, and all these crazy things go on. But I just keep going. It's one post after another. It's just what's the latest thing that I feel like talking about. And I always just keep going and standing my ground and seeing what I want to talk about. And sometimes it's politics, and when it's politics, I just say what I have to say and let the chips fall where they may. And I really think in the process of politics that this is a good thing, not just because it's me, but that some people are doing things like this, so that the political discourse isn't just dominated by people who either have, are pushing a particular party line, or power line does it? I don't know. There's a certain type of political, and then the journalistic bloggers who have a commercial enterprise that they're trying to do. I think that's more routine and more like what politics would normally be, and that a special thing that blogging can do is to kind of release some voices of people who are more like ordinary people for whom politics isn't their whole life, and who maybe have an aversion to politics, which I do. That people who are more, I think, ordinary can find, a place to read and feel comfortable and to, be about politics even though they don't feel that political. So that's sort of my little corner of the blogosphere, and I'll just shut up.